build stuff CNC, where we make it come alive.
Welcome back to I Build CNC. I'm Carl. Today we're diving into the practical setup and first use tips for the Revopoint MetroX 3D scanner. This scanner is powerful but is a little more fussy than some others to use. So if you skip these tips, you might end up a little frustrated. I know I did. It took me a little while to figure out how to make this scanner work, and I ended up actually calling for help to an acquaintance of mine in order to get it to actually operate as good as it does now.
If for some reason you end up at this website, it's not Revopoint. It's a close relation in terms of the spelling of the website. But I ended up here and almost ended up downloading software that was not meant to be used. This is the proper software location here. So just make sure you type in the right spelling, and then you scroll down and you'll find the RevoScan MetroX, and then just choose the Windows option.
So when you end up installing the software, it'll want to do a PC performance check, and you just click on that and it'll basically just take a couple seconds and perform that test. And you'll end up with a pass or fail. So this software is very powerful, does a great job. Unfortunately, it's not intuitive, at least not for me. I struggled with this, how to use the software here. This top left, there's 3 buttons on the left here. The MetroX software, or Revopoint's RevoScan software, is kind of laid out that there's groups of buttons that work together. So these let you get into the learning, lots of videos and information regarding the MetroX. You can actually contact MetroX through this website or through the software, and you can even take a book online tech support or online help. So if you go to the website, you can see that you can book online tech support help. I discovered also that you need a dedicated USB 3 connection to your computer. I was actually trying to connect it on my USB hub. So this is the part we're going to scan tonight. It has been welded, it got dirty. And so what the problem is that if it's shiny, clean aluminum or shiny object or matte, whatever, it's fine. But when you go from shiny to black, which there's a lot of burnt marks on this, the black ends up being that you cannot get the scanner to catch the dark and the light. It's either the dark or the light, but both leaves gigantic holes in the scan. So the solution I have is to use a scanning spray. I bought this at Walmart. It was available, quick and easy, and it's Dr. Scholl's Odor X foot spray. Okay, so when scanning large parts, you need to put marker dots on it. So the first thing I do is I clean the part, get it as clean as I can before doing that. And if it has a lot of burnt, black, dark shadows, I will use a scanning spray. Then you can go ahead and put your scanning dots on it. They may be difficult to stick on top of the scanning spray. I haven't got a good solution for that. I put them on before, then the scanning spray covers the dots. Then you got to clean them all off. The other way to do it is to put a scanning spray only where the dark spots are, and then you can put these on around it. Maybe you can wipe a spot off. So it's not a real simple way to deal with that if the part is requiring a scanning spray. Next, we're going to cover the software. We'll go through the software and show you how to set up a scan, and we'll do a scan, and you'll be able to see the steps. Now, we'll go through that in depth. That's where I tripped up the most. hopefully I can save you a lot of time, headaches, and any questions you may have. So let me show you the workflow that I use, at least at this point, in how to get this scanning software to work. So looking at the software, as I talked earlier, there's 3 buttons on the left, and then you got the scanner connection, and you have from the new project. So it gives you a chance to name the project. We'll just simply call this simple test 1, and you can choose where you want to store the file by clicking on it, and you can pull it up and stick it where you would like to put it. So now it's going to activate the scanner and open up the scanning window. Now this is where I got a little confused. This window is broken down into a bar across the top. If you look closely, there are a choice to do a marker scan or feature scan. Feature scans do not use the scanning dots. Marker scan uses the scanning markers or marker tracking, or you can use a global marker tracking method. When you choose the global marking tracking method, you'll notice that the screen changes. It's a setup mode. So that was one of the things I didn't notice right away either. So you choose the global marker tracking, and that will do a scan on all of the markers and not the part. These are previous marker setups. So if you have a fender on a car or a big part, like I showed a minute ago, that has the dots all over it, once scanned, you can rename it, and you do not have to go through this process again. You can go directly to the scan of it. So you would think that clicking over here would start this, but you actually need to choose to either import the scan or the marker dots from a previous project or do a new marker scan. So it'll show you got this little cloud dot right here on the cloud scan. Don't touch that until you have already got your new frames organized. So you either click on this one, or make a new one, and then you click on this. That tells the scanner which global trackers dots you are using. I do not have pre-stored for this project on the table here, so we'll do that now. So the first thing we do is we click on New Scan. That'll activate the scanner. And you'll see that on the screen, it sees the dots. And you can look on the bottom of the screen over here where the mouse is circling. That's important to see that the total global markers are going to count up. So right now we don't have any. So you can see in the top right that it changed from cancel to start. That is the, we can either cancel what we're doing if we don't like what we're doing, or start this global marker scan. Now I must say, you must hold the scanner really still for the first few seconds. You want to get at least 10 or more markers scanned before moving the scanner. If you move the scanner too soon or too quickly, you only have 1 or 2 dots, you will never be able to continue the scan. So that's common with other scanners too. So get the scanner in the right place. Make sure that you're looking at the sidebar. This bar is really important. You can get too far away. When it's not green, you're not scanning. You can get too close and not scan. It's best if you have it somewhere between the good to excellent, and that's based on distance from the table. So hold it still, get it into a green position, and then hit start, and don't move. And when you do move, go really slowly at first. And you can see on the bottom, down on the bottom, you can see we already got 24 markers scanned. And as you start to turn the table, that number is going to start to increase as it finds or locates new markers. So we're running across the table. It's quickly adding up. And once you have a few on there, you can actually turn the table relatively quick, and you can't really mess it up at this point. So you want to get it from the top, you want to get it from the sides. You don't really need to do the whole tabletop, just the area where the scanner is going to be working. So we can either hit stop on top of the camera, or we can hit complete or pause on the program. And so now we do have a new scan. So on the top left, you can see that's the 423.03. So that's April 23rd and the third global marker library scan we have in place. So now that we've done the scan for the global marker tracking, we don't change the global marker tracking. This is the scan settings here, but what we do want to choose is, do we want to choose cross line or parallel line or the auto table or full field? So I'm going to use the parallel lines in this scan. I find it works a little better for the smaller parts. Get the laser beam gets into the thinner places. The cross line is very good. I'm torn almost which one to use, but I'm going to live with the parallel lines for this particular scan. And then the preset point distance, that is important if you want fine detail. If you want really, really good detail, you want to have this number as small as possible, in my experience. And so I change all the way to the left. And now we must change from the cloud scan into the actual scanning mode. But what does matter, on the very left of the screen, there's a little window. And if you look in the window, you can see there's laser lines. That's adjusted by the depth of exposure. So the laser brightness can vary a bit what you need depending on how bright the room is, how bright your part is, if it's a black part or white part, reflective or dark. I find that in most cases, somewhere around 3/4 works well. But the most important one is this depth of exposure. So the depth of exposure, you want to turn it up until the lines turn red. If the lines are red, it's too much, and it's not going to work well for you. So you want to dim it. Now, because I sprayed the part white with the foot powder, it doesn't need as much exposure. So in this case, right off or right on the lowest setting or just up a little bit will work fine. Now, if I point it over at the table where it's black or on the counter, you can see that it's not red, and it actually can be turned up quite a bit before it starts to turn red, as you can see here. So, but because we're doing the part and it's fairly white, we're going to turn it right down. So that's an important setting. Now, the auto setting doesn't tend to be compensating quickly or enough. It gets confused. Because we have a black background, it's going to want to set it brighter for the black, and then it's going to overexpose it for the part. And so just set it on the part that you're going to do. Don't worry about the rest of it. So now we'll just want to look at the middle here. Right now, you do not see any of my part in the image. You can see those lines. And what will happen is very quickly, you'll see how the scanner works. You'll see the laser lines start to paint like a paintbrush. And as you move it, the part will become visible. So I'm going to hit start and let it get going. So you can see the laser lines are starting to paint the picture. And we got to go fairly slow. Not terribly slow, but fairly slow. And as you move the part around, it'll start to paint and you can see that I got out of the this part right in here, got out of frame for a minute. So we want to keep it in that range where it needs to be. So we need to get the camera on the scanner to see all the surfaces that we're trying to scan in this frame, and we want them to go over enough times that they turn green on the board. Now, as you do this at different angles, they will slowly start to turn green. Those little holes in the middle here are going to be a problem. So that's why you get the angle, you're going to have to work it so you can see down into those holes nice and neat. And just keep it in the good range, a little bit out of range there for a sec. And just wiggle it back and forwards, just back and forwards across those difficult spots. And then change your angle again, back and forwards. And then again, I'm not watching the screen as much as I should be because I'm trying to film this. You can look at the laser and you'll see if the laser is not laying on the part. So it's probably hard to see in the film, but there's a ridge, and the laser beam is not laying a line on the part. You will get a missing part of the scan if you don't point the scanner to get every part of the part under the laser at some point. So I can get the opposite side of that ridge by coming on the other side here. And I will complete this. So there's our first scan tonight. So what I need to do now is reposition the part. Now, if I'm careful and do not move any markers, I can then not have to do another global marker scan. So I didn't move anything, so I should be able to just make another scan using the same marker scan. So what I'll do is I will hit new scan. I'll change it back to global marker scan. I will keep our frame 042303 that we did earlier, and by keeping it, I just simply click on the cloud scan. And on this side, I did not have to spray the scanning spray on it, and I can simply just point the scanner at it and hit start. So we're looking at the image and we're trying to fill in all the little holes and turn everything green. You can think of it as like a spray can, that if the light hasn't touched it, we're not have a decent scan of that part. In fact, there will be no scan of that part. There'll be a hole in the part. So you can see the back sides, it hasn't had the laser touch it yet. So as the laser touches the back side of these parts, it starts to cover them in. Okay, so we'll call that good for now. And we'll hit complete. And this is where I need to reset up for the next one. So I like to do a side view. I got a top, or the top and a bottom, but I need a side view. And a good side view is going to make it so that I can put the two parts together, the top and the bottom part together in the software. Okay, so we need to do a new scan. I don't like the fact that it changes the default to marker tracking automatically. I think it should be left where we had it. So now the global marker scan is set up, and we need a new scan for the markers. So we click on that, it changes this to start. And I think that was the part that's the most confusing, that this beginning process of this global marker scan is just not obvious. So we can hit start on the screen or start on the scanner. This time we use the scanner. Remember, hold it still in the green before you start and watch your count of markers go up. And just nice and steady at first. Once it's got a few, it really doesn't matter if you lose tracking, because you can figure it where it was. Okay, that should be enough. And you complete it, let it process. And here's where I got stuck before, is choosing this cloud scan to start the new scan. So we have chosen the right global marker scan file, which we just made, which is the fourth one now. And we need to change it to scanning mode. So we hit cloud scan once and it goes away. And now we're able to start our scan. So this is the cross-line scan. I didn't even think about it, but it just is the default. It works really well. And in this scan here, I'm only wanting to get the top edge really well. I don't really care if I get the bottom or even the front and back, because we did a really good job in the previous video or previous scan. So we just really want to have the side scan to tie it all together. And you can see how quickly it's populating the parts. It's all turning nice and green fairly quick. So you can see it's pretty much turned solid green where we need it on the side here. So you can see it's just a sheet of plywood, nothing special. And I had 3D printed this thing here. It comes apart real easy to trim. And you can see that it's just a really simple part. Took a couple minutes to draw it up in Fusion and hit print. And short term after that, I had the plastic part made. Clicks together really nice. I just set it on the desk, and any flat object can be set on top of that. And it just works beautifully. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is we need to process these scans. So we have the first, second, and third scans. Let's go to the first scan. We can zoom in on it. You can see there's a lot of noise around it. So there's keyboard controls, the shift, the alt, and the control. So the left mouse button lets you tilt it, but then you want to move it around. You need to move the whole thing down. You hit the shift button, and you can drag it up and down. So the shift button helps you change the location, and then you can use the left mouse and just turn it around like that. So there's a one-click option here that basically does all of these other buttons automatically once. It's how you can start doing it, but in this case here, we kind of want to get a little bit better quality for this part. And so I use the Fusion button. So the one click, you have to choose the Fusion or one-click button, and you can move the mouse over it, and you see there's no other things light up. So you really don't have a choice here. So I choose this one here falls under the point cloud edit. So you need to do the point cloud edit first before you do the mesh edit. So we want to do the point cloud edit, all three, and then combine them into one, and then do the mesh edit. At least that's the workflow that I have learned how to use. So we'll click on Fusion, and we need to apply. I'm going to go again, drag it all the way to the left and hit apply, and it's going to process. And depending on your computer, this could take even up to an hour if you have a really big scan. But this computer is going to crunch it really fast because of the NVIDIA card. As you see the object we've scanned, it'll start to become a clean object as we process it here. So it's already cleaned up a lot of the noise. As you can see, it's already looking better. So the next one is obviously just work from left to right. So the next button is isolation. So we just click on detect, and it's going to get rid of all of the noise that is not part of the scan. So I just double check that I am okay with that. I don't like the fact we got the stripes on it, but I'm going to apply it, and it didn't affect it. So it got rid of all of that background noise. Now that was easy. Maybe one of these will not be so easy, and then we can show you how to do it manually. On the very right of the screen, there's some manual choices how to do this. And this is where you got to be careful now. You can ruin the scan really quick. The overlap, if you hover over the button, it'll tell you what it is. And it gets rid of the excess noise of the scan. And I just turn it down. I don't want it to do too much. So I just turn it down to about 0.1 or thereabouts and let it detect. And it goes on, and in this case here, it didn't find any. And so I just apply that. That is done. And then smoothing is really got to be careful because you will ruin the scan. For instance, if I let it do it like a strength of like halfway up, and let's just do it like 26 times. If you look at the part, watch it closely, and I hit apply, it's going to lose the quality and the fine detail. So it's a bit fuzzy. It looks really nice, but it's fuzzy. And the corners turn round, and I don't like that. So I'm going to hit undo. And what I'll do is I only do it one time or two times, just a few times. And I turn it down, the strength way down, just so it barely does something. And if you apply that, watch the part, almost nothing changed. It just cleaned it up just a little bit. That's how I like to do it. And then we want to simplify the point cloud. Now you can do uniform or geometric. It tells you what the difference is down in the bottom here. Everything on this does give you a drop-down menu, or at least it tells you what the choices are. The top ones give you drop-down menus like that, and this gives you what it is. So I just turn this down to around 10% or less, and then I apply that, and it'll simplify the point cloud, and you really don't see much change. And that part is done. So now we do the next one. I'll do it really quickly here now. So we want to not do the one click, we want the fusion process. We want to apply it and let it do its thing. Okay, so now that it's done the fusion process, we can do isolation, detect. So here we have a problem. We're going to lose absolutely everything if we do this. I'll show you. If we apply this, we got holes in our part, and it's not nice. We'll undo that, and we'll turn the detection down a little bit more. Try it again. Okay, so we have a couple of pieces left that we didn't get. These two here. So I'll just click the lasso, and I'll just go around it. hit delete, go around it, hit delete. The overlap, detect. Again, there's very few dots on here. There's just a couple. Apply that. You want to smooth it a little bit. Again, it's set for minimal smoothing. You want to simplify it. I guess around 10% or so. That one's done. Now, because we don't really care about the bottom of that part, we can just chop it off because the other scan will have it. Okay, so these three are ready to go into the next process. So we want to merge them together. So we click on merge and we can choose our first part and the second part, and we can preview that they are merged properly. And I can say they are, but let's just do it manually. So what we need to do is we need to see how the part belongs. So we've got to turn them. We have to turn the two parts that are not the same. So you can see that the long legs are on the back, and we don't even have them on here. So we need to find something that is the same on the scan. So I know that that point and that point are the same. That point and that point are the same. And that point and that point are the same. And you can see now that it has put this model together, and that is correct. So we got the first and the third one are combined here. So we'll generate the model, and you'll see a new model appear up here. That's the merge. So we can do another merge by merging this part with the one we didn't do. And we'll see if we can do it. It should be able to do it automatically. Preview the alignment. I'm okay with that. We can generate the model. And you can see this is our finished merged part together here. Now this part is actually pretty rough from all the welding going on it, damage to it. So at this point, you could actually export this as a point cloud or all models or something. You can choose OBJ or PLY object, but it's not really ready for that yet. So now we need to make a mesh. So we want to work with the merge 2 here. This is the only one that really matters to us. So we'll go in and apply the mesh tool to it. And you can say it says it's going to take 6 minutes, but it's going to go really fast with a good computer. It is now a merged mesh. It already looks better. You can see there's some holes in it here. We could fix it up later. So I'm choosing, because this has got curves, I'm going to hit detect. And any place there is green, you just click on it. I think it's backwards, they're color coding. to me it should be red and you turn it green when you fixed it. But to them, red is Revopoint. Red is the you've chosen it and it's in good shape. I'm not choosing the holes in the middle. I don't want those holes filled in. And then we can apply it. So if we did another detect, we could just make sure we didn't miss any. There's a little one there, a little one there, a little one there. Smooth it. I don't like smoothing very much, so again, I just do very little. We can apply it. I don't have any holes that I want to fill using the where the markers were, because there were no markers, but under the holes, under the plane, you could fill all the holes in if you had any left over from the markers being on it. Then we can simplify this mesh. Again, I don't want to do a lot of simplification. That is a finished scan. Now this part is a little bit ugly to begin with, so that it's not the scanner's fault for these parts in here. This is how it actually is. It's picked up all the welding marks and all that. But I really don't need that. I just need the basic design so we can just draw it up in Fusion and then we can machine a new part for this. So we can choose export, we can choose all models, and that gives us a choice of those outputs. Or we could do export mesh model, and that would give us a lot more other choices we want. So in this case, an STL would be fine for me. Just give it a name. Save. And it was right here. And that brings us to the end of what I've learned, at least on how to get a decent scan. We could improve the scan by taking a little more time and getting it a little more smooth. And the scanner doesn't want to be waved fast. I see some videos of people giving this. I find a real smooth and steady hand. It's kind of like spray painting, and up, down, and getting different angles on the part makes a big difference. So I put this together to sort of show how the scanner works. So you can see this is the scanner. So the one lens is pointing this way, the other lens is pointing that way. And so what happens is the scanner looks from the two cameras at the laser beam or the object from those two perspectives. So you can see that they converge into one point, and you can get different looks at that same point. For instance, you can't. So for instance, if you're trying to get into the bottom of this thing, you can see it that this way, that it can see to the bottom of the fins. But on this way, it cannot. So as it's looking at it, it's only going to go down a little ways because it needs both cameras to catch the bottom of that part. So when you turn it, you get it in and you can get a good look into the bottom of that crack. Just like you guys can see, if I turn it sideways, you can't see the bottom of the crack, you know, and so it needs to see the bottom of the crack. So by knowing which way the scanner looks with the eyes and how the laser beam's got to lay in there, you can see the parts. You're going to have to get the angles on the parts by changing your angle on the part. And the same thing would be like on this part here. If I don't get the scanner in the right orientation, it won't be able to see around the corners. So little holes in that, and getting to deep holes is difficult, if not impossible. Because remember, we're dealing with the two angles coming in. So the bigger the scanner, the shallower it can get into holes. That's why a little teeny scanner can get in a little bit deeper, but we don't really need it to get in. We just need to know where the hole is in most cases. So anyways, I want to thank you for putting up with me, and hopefully you learned something. I think that the Revopoint MetroX is a really nice scanner. It has done a fantastic job. I got a few more projects I'll post here shortly, and it has done as good of a job as I would expect. A little sensitive on how you got to hold the positioning of it. You got to be careful, slow, methodical, and the software just a little bit could be just a little bit more intuitive to use. Once you get the idea of what it's supposed to do, how it does it, it's actually pretty easy to use. It's just those first few scans that can trip you up. So hopefully I was able to show you a little bit more about how this program works. Thank you. Subscribe and like the videos if it helped you at all.
Thank you for watching. I build stuff CNC, where we make it come alive. Thank you for watching. Share, like, and come again. Don't forget to follow us